We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
What is up, Cal fans? We are back with another episode of the Golden Bearcast. We fully believe that at this point, my sexy new microphone is working well and not clipping.
So much butter.
To be determined on that butter, as I was hoping it was butter last week, and it was not. But nonetheless, we are the Golden Bearcast. You have found us. You are in the right place. We're a proud partner of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I am one of your co-hosts, Andy. Alongside me, as always, is Rob. And we're going to break down the end of the Cal season.
Yep.
A nice 4-8 conclusion in a season in which I predicted 9-3.
Nothing correctly.
8-4. Untrue. Sir.
True. Yeah, you did get a couple things right. Yeah. But for the large part, most of us, absolutely all wrong.
Wilcox has not been hired as the defensive coordinator of the 49ers. However, D'Amico Ryans looks like he's going to get a head coaching gig.
Yeah, he's going to get a head coaching gig.
So 50% on that one. Mostly wrong. Nonetheless, we're going to break it down. A little bit of UCLA action. We'll get some thoughts there. And then we're going to dive into a little bit of postseason action as we are fully immersed in the transfer portal, which I must say I despise with almost everything in my entire body. And it's not that I despise the core of what it allows players to do, because coaches do it all the time. It should be equal. But it is because of the fact that there is literally zero regulation.
Yep.
And in fact, I'm going to spoil something right now. With the stuff with Deion, for those that don't know, Deion, I watched both of his leaving press conference with his existing players.
Or his little talking, like his TED Talk with his players.
His TED Talk with his players, and his TED Talk with his new players, his TED Talks, if you will. Well, listen to Mr. Prime Time, and first he tells all of his existing players who are at Jackson State, a prestigious HBCU, to hop in the portal. Get themselves in the portal, and then he tells other ones that maybe they shouldn't be in the portal. They might get stuck there.
No, he tells all of them not to.
Oh, he said not to.
So not to. He says he's to the Jackson State guys. He says, I know some of you guys are thinking about going into the portal and maybe not playing our game and all that, but you're gonna have to answer to coaches and so on to do what's right for you. Stick with this team. Stay here. Or if you go into the portal, you might get stuck in the portal. And he's like, it's ultimately up to you. But he's basically saying I would advise against it. And
okay,
what he's basically trying to do is keep the talent there that he's amassed at Jackson State. So like
Yes.
whoever comes in next has, isn't working from an empty cupboard.
Okay. Love that. Much better than the way I had interpreted it.
Yeah. But the Colorado one, though.
Then he goes to Colorado and he says, I'm coming in with my own baggage.
Yep. My own luggage. Yep.
Y'all get in the portal. Because what has been the way that the past results of the past few years are not going to be happening anymore. And then he also said that he is going to install his son as the starting quarterback.
Which he's bringing from Jackson State.
Who he's bringing from Jackson State. I'll tell you, Deion is probably going to end up being successful because I do think college football, if you're a good recruiter, odds are you're probably going like 7-5, 8-4.
He's already brought in a top 20 receiver within the first day. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's garbage. Come on, Deion. You be better than that. It's garbage. You're going to install your son as the starting quarterback. You're not even going to make it a competition.
I mean, that's why not Chance Nolan. Who's their quarterback? One of their quarterbacks, I think, entered the portal right away. Chance Nolan is the Oregon State quarterback who entered the portal, but I think one of the Colorado guys entered the portal right away too.
In a weird sense of parallels, Deion going to Colorado is like Elon's arrival at Twitter.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad. I mean, some history was made, right? It's the first Power 5 school to hire 3 consecutive African-American coaches.
Love that.
I think that's a feat that needs to be commended just because of the sheer lack of representation throughout college football and the NFL.
Yes.
In not only head coaching gigs, but assistant coaching gigs and so on. But yeah, I think I'm on the same boat with you. It's like, how could you say that to those guys at Jackson State and then come into this room and say that? And maybe we're being too harsh. Like I went back and rewatched his Colorado thing. And it was like, maybe he's saying like, if you're scared to compete and get better, you should jump into the portal. Right. Maybe that's what he's trying to say, that I can find guys to replace you if you guys aren't willing to compete.
Yes.
Maybe that's what he's trying to portray. But like, once again, I have to do a lot of interpreting and like understanding what he's trying to say and marking that down to get to that point.
Right.
Versus it being straightforward.
I think that's exactly right. I mean, I think that to your point, there's an easier way to have communicated that information.
Yeah. If that's in what he's intending to say.
Yes. And if he's intending to say that, I mean, I would understand that coming in and being like, I thought like what he was talking about, like the fans, your parents, the administration are tired of, what the last 8 years has been. And I am here to disrupt that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I actually think that makes a lot of sense. It would be weird if I kind of came in and I was like, hey, everybody, my name's Andy Johnston. I'm the new head coach of Colorado. And I just wanted to say how much of a blessing it is to be at a program with such a decorated background in winning. Right? Like, yeah. Right? Like, you'd be like, what? Yeah. Excuse me? Like, you didn't say that.
The other coaching version of that is you go in and you're like, it's a clean slate. Everyone's going to get a chance to compete. Everyone's going to get a chance to
hell yeah. That's impress. What he should be doing.
That's how you should be talking to those players.
But that's why I hate the move with his son. It's like, everyone should compete. Everyone should compete. Should compete for every single role. There's no nepotism role in that team. Finest. Yeah, it's nepotism at its finest.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. I mean, Deion's going to be Deion. That hire is going to be very interesting to watch because the portal's a disaster, right? That was my main point. The portal's a disaster because you have coaches manipulating it to their benefit. You have tampering that's consistently happening. And it just sort of feels like this. I mean, it does really feel like the entire landscape of college football has completely shifted pretty dramatically in 2 years.
In 2 years, that's the crazy part. Literally in 2 years.
And it all goes back to NCAA. NCAA was just, lost our lawsuit. Well, see ya. Like, there's just no guidance. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's very similar to kind of what's, I think, happening right now with like the internet. The internet is just like a place. You can do anything. And it's
meant to connect you to the world, which is basically what the portal is, right? It's meant to connect you to any other opportunity that might arise for yourself.
I love that. Yes, exactly.
But I mean, you say like it's been 2 years, right? But like, think about it. Like, the last year alone has been ridiculously crazy. Like, within the last year, we were told SC and LA are moving to the Big Ten, just like Texas and Oklahoma is moving to SEC. Maybe that was 2 years ago. But anyways, I'm just gonna loop it in here. And then we got announcement of a 12-team playoff, literally, finalized a week ago.
Yep.
And then, and then the portal too, and then NIL. Like, all of the stuff that we've been clamoring for like, I think the last 10, 15 years all happened within a span of 18 months.
Yep.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. And it really was. I really think it was just a pullback of the NCAA. And so like a lot of it good. A lot of it good. Name, image, and likeness is good. But just no leadership. There's no leadership with how any of this is being done.
Yep.
And I think that is in and of itself, it's problematic. It's just problematic. Like, you just can't. There's no leadership. There's no idea. Like, no one has any idea. It's just sort of like the wild west.
Crypto.
It feels like crypto. It's exactly what it feels like. It feels like crypto. It's like, is this going to work? I don't know.
Someone's going to be FTX'd. Someone is going to be FTX'd.
Dude, someone's going to be FTX, and it's going to be the universities. Universities are going to be stuck holding those bills.
Well,
universities are going to be stuck with Jimbo Fishers and Mel Tuckers.
Well, I mean, that's contracts. Like, I'm not even. I wasn't even thinking of coaching contracts, because I feel like coaching contracts have been a thing for collegiate football for forever, right? It's just it's ballooned with like TV deals and the money that's being influenced. But like, with like NIL collectives at different schools and offering players like certain amounts of money, and those players come in, either they don't perform or they transfer out after a year. Like, those donors that put money into those collectives to bring those players in, like, who do you look to make up for your lost profits? Like, what? Like, are you going to tell you bring in a 4-star guy, that you think with the NIL stuff because you agreed it with him, and then he comes in and the coach won't play him.
Right.
Then it's like, where is that power play happening? Where do those conversations go? Who's keeping who in check? It's a Wild West.
It's a Wild West. That's a great point. That's a fantastic point. Wasn't even thinking about that. Just all these different points of contention.
Yeah.
And what does that mean?
It's crypto.
It's crypto.
It's crypto. Some school is going to end up being FTX because some donor put in like $3 million a year into this, and then has finally spent all of his life savings into trying to make a football team great, and then is being sued and then sues the university for malpractice with his finances.
Love that. Happen. Look forward to that happening, and you collecting receipts on that one. That's going to be a depressing one to collect receipts on. I had $3 million and I gave it all to Cal football. What a martyr.
Oh, can I say one more thing about the Deion thing?
Yeah.
I don't know how this is going to go over with people, but I just kind of wanted to say this because I feel like the team at Jackson State is the team that ultimately gets like left behind, because
Yes.
you know when Deion like first signed, he's like, I'm here to like bring back like the prestige to HBCU, like or the HBCUs, and you know their name and what they mean to the community and the country, and their history, and only for him to bounce ultimately, like instead of really trying to push that agenda, right, and move forward within the or like with an HBCU, sees the opportunity at a P5 and then jumps at the chance, right? And I'm like, that's why I was like, I don't know how this is going to work out, because I feel like Dion's either gonna fail badly, and it's gonna, this entire like thing at Jackson State's gonna be a laughing stock, or he's gonna move on to some better opportunity. We all thought that it might be Auburn, but it ended up being Colorado. Um, he moves on to there, and everything he said is like, sure, we might feel good about Jackson State, like with this season and maybe next season. Some people might keep an eye on them, but then it'll just be gone if they like move, if they revert back to, you know, a non-championship winning, consistently championship winning team. It just becomes, you know, back page news, and that's what sucks, because I love the intent of why he went to Jackson State, and at least in his opening statements and his presser, but I always was curious about how it was going to end, and it ended like this, which was a promoting move.
It ended in the way that sadly was most predictable.
Yep.
I think that Deion as a candidate was quite interesting, because you could make the case that I don't know his finances. He certainly earned enough in his career to not have to work for.
Yeah, I mean, he had a nice gig at the NFL Network.
Yeah, so it's, you know, it's not like he should be in a position to not have to work the rest of his life, and so in that sense, you could have made a nice case for staying. Now, the competitive side of that is always going to be there.
Yep.
It's like, I want to compete at the best level. I want to continue to prove myself. You know, I definitely could put Jackson State on the map for a couple of years, but it's FCS. How much is any program outside of Sacramento State
Yeah, right now
on our radar right now?
Yeah,
that we don't have some level of like a coach that, you know, was previously with us at. Yeah, I'd say it's little to none. So yeah, I agree. I mean, it's both a really good thing, and also like, I mean, it's good that he did it, because I think he could have gotten a job anywhere at an FCS school. So it's great that he did it. But then you also look at it and say, well, was there an opportunity to do it even better?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, like, dude, like, I don't know. The whole circus, there was such a big circus around, is he staying? Is he going? I think sometimes these guys, like, I mean, Deion's great. He's clearly great. But, like, he's also got a little bit of an ego. Right? And it's, like, so much of that, like...
prime time.
Yeah, you know, it's, like, shocking. But, like, all of the drama of, like, is he staying? Is he going? Is he staying? Is he going? Is he staying? Is he going? Okay, now I'm going to do, like, a press conference and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Joking around with a reporter, like, you know, it's just sort of like, what does that look like from the lens of a player? What does that look like from the lens of somebody that is making their life decision based around your kind of jockeying around? I don't know. For me, it would be really hard to look up and see my leader constantly just kind of, you know, that's a big deal. It's a big deal.
I mean, that's why, and I think I'll end on this. Like, that's why his message, or how he started off his message to the Jackson State team, didn't really sit well with me, because he was like, I know you've been hearing the rumors, you know, but I wanted you to hear from me. And I'm like, are you saying that this is the first time you've addressed this? Like, it's been an entire week. You've been practicing with your team. And you're saying this is the first time you've decided to address this with your team? Like, not, you know, without any cameras or a documentary crew or anything like that? Like, just between, you know, closed doors, you and just the guys? Like, and this is what I think is a nice little pivot, at least a little sidestep, because we'll be talking about the offense coordinator at Cal gig for a little bit too. But that's why I kind of like that we haven't really gotten any big rumors. Like I much prefer this, like not knowing anything versus like today it's one candidate and then the following day it's like another person has entered the fray. And then the following day it's like, that person's out of the running and then now it's this person. Like I would not want to be on this roller coaster of consistently like expecting this guy to be our next OC or head coach and then like finding out it's not and then finding out it is and then finding out it's not. Like, just give me the radio silence and just give me the official announcement or like the Bruce Feldman, like sources say, he is very close to being the next offensive coordinator at, Cal or the next head coach at Colorado.
It was the Aranda stuff that was just like, so tiring of, is he here? Is he not here? Is he here? Is he not here? Is he here? Is he not here? That I do remember just being exhausted by that.
Yeah. We're still exhausted because it's been a week, but it's a different kind of exhausted.
Yeah. Different kind of exhausted. Speaking of exhausted, let's talk about the season.
Let's talk about the season. Let's talk about the UCLA in particular.
Yeah, let's start with your thoughts, breakdowns, feeling. I mean, you were at the game.
Yeah.
So I'd love to capture that experience first.
Well, first of all, the crowd was not anything close to what it was at the big game.
Shocking.
Not even close. I mean, the students are all out, right? They're all at Thanksgiving break. Everyone's home. If you've been to a Cal football game in the last 8 to 10 years and you've been to that final game at the end of the season, it's pretty much been this. Like, it's been kind of hit or miss like that game Thanksgiving weekend. So that's the start. It was the England USA game in the morning of that day. So we were watching at the tailgate. I walked up a little bit early, got settled on the field. And what was really cool is they had the game showing up on the big boards. Because I think they kind of realized it's Team USA. Everyone kind of wanted to watch it. So I was just on the field, like watching the game. And then I got a real cool opportunity because I was standing at the goalpost waiting for the players to come out. Totally forgot that the band comes out before the team, and I was kind of getting settled in. I don't know why but it just went over my head. And then one of the band directors comes over and she's like, I'm going to give you a special seat. And what she does is she sets up a ladder behind the goalpost, like that faces the entrance, the north tunnel. And she's like, you can sit under the ladder. So I got to sit under the ladder, which gives you me like it feels like all the band members when they're coming out is like rushing towards you. I think I put it on my Instagram and my TikTok. So if you guys want to take a look at that, you guys are more than welcome to.
Hold the phone.
Yeah.
You have a TikTok?
Yeah, I made it because I started like all my video work and stuff. I just wanted to get like another place to promote it. So
that makes sense. Okay.
Cal women's basketball follows me on TikTok.
You are literally a celebrity.
With 7 followers on TikTok. Yeah. So I got that really cool opportunity, and then I got the players coming out wearing the Joe Roth unis. Super sick. The game kind of went exactly as I expected it to. I honestly didn't think. I thought it'd be close. That was my honest guess, but I didn't think it would be close enough to the point where we would have a chance in the dying moments of the game. Like not a Hail Mary like Notre Dame, but more of, we had that final drive, which ended up, in the fumble that cost the turnover that led to the game ending. But we played well enough that we kept it within striking distance and we kept scoring. Good Lord. Like I have some amazing footage that I'll put up at some point with like Hunter and all those guys scoring some ridiculous touchdowns right in front of me too. I almost got run over twice. And yeah, everyone played. I thought everyone played well. I think that the offense, what we saw in the big game and what we were talking about was, the offense by committee. Would it work? It looked like Jeep was calling the plays just because if you watch the recap, the broadcast stuff, he's the one that's actually talking to Jack Plummer on what he's seeing and I guess the play calling in the next drive and so on. So. But with the game planning itself, how the plays were called, what they were using to set up certain plays I thought was really good, and it worked. And simplifying the offense into getting guys in space, the pitches, the quick passes, um, the fake pitch to the long bomb to J Mike
That was awesome.
is just it. Those were just moments that really, really worked. So, yeah, those are my thoughts, general thoughts on the game. What about for you?
I think that you brought up one of the points that I wanted to talk about, which is we sort of said, for those people that have been clamoring and saying Wilcox is just a defensive head coach and he's a defensive coordinator and he holds the offense back. I don't know. I mean, these 2 games were pretty solid evidence of the fact that that's not true. And I mean, Cal with the lead in the fourth quarter against that UCLA team, that's a really good UCLA team.
Yeah.
Like 9-3 with a couple of, played SC really close. And that is a team that has, I think, I thought Chip Kelly looked pretty surprised on the sideline.
Yeah.
I didn't think he expected it to be that close. I mean, he has such good ownage over us. And there's just a couple. Yeah, I mean, the offense, I was so curious about this because I would love to get your thoughts. Do you think it's a matter of them simplifying things? Because that's the thing that we've heard, right? Musgrave's offense is too complex for college. And that was like the big question mark. So do you think they go into practice and say, okay, let's just take our core concepts that we've been working on all season and then just like simplify them and make things easier for people to grasp? Obviously, the O-line got way better. So Greatwood's influence there and McClure being gone was really helpful.
Saffold looks like a really good offensive line coach in the making.
Ran into him jogging yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I didn't say anything.
No.
Just this huge redhead dude that just running right at me with a Cal football shirt on. I was like, that's definitely
that's Mike's Fell. That's definitely Mike's Fell.
So I would love to get your thoughts there. We see this offense both in the big game and UCLA look so different. An aerial attack.
Yeah.
That really emphasized the skill position players and just looked way more, dare I say, I was going to say something else, but like effective than
explosive.
Definitely
was explosive.
Like average plus.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I've been asking for.
Yeah.
Is like just an average
Cal
plus
plus
offense.
Premium.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it was. I think your analysis is perfectly on point. I think the only thing I would add on top of that, with of course the simplifying of the playbook, because if you rewatch the game, and I was talking to Avi about this, and Avi noticed this too, which was I think we ran ultimately what happened at the end of the UCLA game is we ran out of plays. I think that's what happened. I think we ran out of plays that took UCLA by surprise, like enough. I think they started to dial in defensively on our plays that were being effective. And then because we had shortened the playbook, we didn't really have much else to go to.
We said that in the big game, correct? Like we were actually running plays over again.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of what happened. That's why it's been so effective for us over the first like 3 quarters of both the big game and the UCLA game. I think the second thing I'll add to that, to what you were saying, is it was geared around getting guys into space and using their athletic ability, whether it be the wideouts, whether it be Jaden Knott. Remember, our biggest frustration with Jaden Knott was like, why are we constantly trying to run in between the tackles when our offensive line cannot create the gaps for him to run between the tackles? We don't need to be doing this to keep them honest, because it's just not effective, right? Which is why I think all of us were like wide-eyed and super excited when we started to see the pitches, because that's what we were asking for, right? Like, run the pitches, run the outside, run the off tackles. Like, give me stuff to get Jaden into space where he can make the first guy miss, and then you give him a chance to move on. And then off of that, what they did was they built the play action game off of Jaden Knott, and it led to guys like Hunter and Sturdivant and Maven getting tons of opportunities to make catches. So, yeah, I think you're spot on. I think both you and I are both on the same page on that.
Certainly fascinating to see. And not exactly, I mean, I really did have that question. I totally transparently did not know if that sort of rumor about Wilcox and his, being a defensive coordinator. I mean, you and I have always felt like his grasp of both sides of the ball is super, super strong, but you just never know, like, tendencies, how people are outside of it. You just hear about it. And I was always so curious. And I think this was a resounding refutement. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same coin, but a different side of that I would say, just to give. I don't think those people are 100% wrong. I think the approach, if you dive a little bit deeper or get the opportunity to talk to Wilcox, you understand how his football brain is wired and how much extensive knowledge he has about the sport and how much he loves the sport and is such a competitor of the sport. But I think there is something that they're alluding to, which I would want to ask you about, which is maybe he doesn't need to put an input. And I think maybe his because when he talks about firing Musgrave, right? Like he said, people say that it's not supposed to be personal, but it definitely feels personal, right? Is it maybe that he gives his offense coordinator or those coaches too much room to be like, I'm letting you coach, right? It's not that I need to be involved. It's that I trust you to do the coaching. And maybe that's where the fault might lie a little bit, where he needs to be able to eval it and make quicker decisions on that. And be like, look, it's not working out, or like, we need to make some changes here on offense, versus a little bit like trusting Bill Musgrave to make the adjustments and doing that. And maybe that timeline was maybe drawn out a little bit too long, and hindsight 2020. But like, if we had fired Musgrave a little bit earlier, who knows, maybe a couple more games go our way, right? So that would be the question I'd pose to you is, do you think that's a fair, like, give and take and middle ground between the two sides?
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
I think so. I think that you could make the case that maybe Wilcox. I don't know. Because it's like, I can't imagine after the first 4, maybe 6 games that, especially like, let's say Colorado.
Yeah.
Like, that was the point where I think like the move should have been made.
Yeah.
That's what I would hold Wilcox to. I would say, you knew this offense was a tire fire at that Colorado game. There wasn't any other evidence that we needed to see. That was a fireable offense. You and I both said that it was a fireable offense. And that's at a head coaching level.
Yep.
So I just don't know. Like, I think that's right. I think he maybe delegated too much. We said the same thing with Sonny, where it was like, Sonny was like, that's the defensive side of the ball. I don't talk about that. And maybe Wilcox wasn't involved or didn't get as involved at the beginning and then did later. I mean, definitely think he was involved in the last 2 games. I think the fault might have been not being involved enough post Colorado.
Yep.
And really coming in there and being like, this is a train wreck. And, we need to make some corresponding moves. That Colorado game will forever be one of the worst losses that we have had. But the thing that I like about this coming out of this game too is like Wilcox was aggressive, and I kind of I wish like he could I hope he remembers the mindset that he sort of has once they're not bowl eligible. I feel like Wilcox is like way looser. It just sort of feels like we attack, we like, and I kind of think like, would it be mad if we had a season where we just went with that attitude?
Yeah.
We're gonna play with we're gonna play with an underdog mentality the entire season.
Yeah, we're gonna act like we have already lost out on a bowl game, and we're just trying to spoil people's seasons.
Yeah, would love that. And just be like, we're gonna come in here and really surprise a bunch of people, but we're also just gonna like continue to be aggressive. I mean, it's one of those things, man. Like, look at the Pac-12 championship. That game. I felt like when Lincoln Riley went for the field goal instead of the touchdown, I thought the touchdown would have put that game on ice.
Yep.
21-3 the first half. And instead, they went 17. I really felt like that touchdown there, you go for it, 4th and 2. That game. I'd say the same thing about the Niners game. Kyle Shanahan had an opportunity to go up or go for it. And we kick a field goal to go up 6. Miami gets the ball, and then they go for it from their own 23-yard line or some insane thing like that. Mike McDaniels, and they get it, and they drive all the way downfield and score a touchdown. I don't know. I think that mentality can really end up being a catalyst for the whole team, where you just sort of say it's us against the world. I mean, I know the Giants have done that. I know a lot of teams have done that successfully. Like, they're not getting the love, they find the beliefs in themselves. But it's one thing to sort of say it, and it's the other to sort of see it, especially from your head coach. And it's I really do think like once bowl eligibility was out the window, it's just like Wilcox, like every decision that you ever see like Nick sort of straddling both sides of and being like, well, in this scenario, like, it's like, which I love, like his coaching game theory section of all of his posts. It's always sort of like, oh, in this scenario, you could go for it here, blah, blah, blah. And usually I'm going to say Nick leans towards going for it. And Wilcox doesn't always meet him there.
Yeah.
And I would say non-bowl eligible Wilcox sees eye to eye with Nick.
Yeah, we need to have this conversation. I think this is a good topic we should put a pin on for like a future thing, so I could do a little bit more research on it, of like just looking at the stats from a pre-bowl eligibility Wilcox and a post-bowl eligibility Wilcox. Whether you had gotten bowl eligible or you had lost bowl eligible, I think both counts on the opposite side of that. But up until that 6-win mark,
yes,
I think that'd be fascinating to look at. I'm gonna write this down, and then so we can do a separate pod on this. But yeah, that was pretty much the season. I mean, of course, if you're listening to this, we will have a full like season wrap up pod. We haven't podded in like a week and a half due to scheduling errors, so we wanted to make sure we had a post UCLA thing out there for y'all to listen to. But there's some more storylines we need to talk about, so we're gonna move on to that. All right, so. First thing is, Andy, what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about people leaving, or you want to talk about the OC we might potentially be bringing in?
Let's end on a high.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the people leaving.
Let's go with people leaving.
All right. So as soon as the game was over against UCLA, we started to get news of guys entering the portal or grad transferring. So the first one was Ben Coleman. So offensive lineman Ben Coleman and Dario Longhetto both are grad transferring. They have both gotten their Cal degrees. congratulations to the both of them. And they are entering the portal to look for another opportunity. Your favorite, Damian Moore, also enters the transfer portal. Jameson Shahan, our punter, and one of your favorites, he declares for the NFL draft.
It's a good move.
Great move. Orrin Patu enters the transfer portal also as a graduate transfer, so he has his degree. One of my favorites, actually, Orrin was one of my favorites too. But one of my favorites, running back to Carlos Brooks, also enters the portal, also as a grad transfer, so he got his degree. And then this morning, Femi Oladejo enters the portal, and within 3 hours, has committed to UCLA. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I don't even want to discuss like what could transpire in 3 hours, but and how he already had a graphic ready to go. But that's a different question for another day. What do you think? Portal time.
I genuinely, so I had this really interesting conversation, which was great, with a former collegiate Cal athlete, just graduated, and we were talking about the grad transfer and how hard it is to get into the, was it like post-secondary? I don't even know.
Post.
It's like, it's really hard to get into these programs. Yeah. So it's like really hard to get into these programs.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, like, they came in, they graduated, and grad transfers, some of them I think could have had another year, but I just don't know how that works. And I do know that like the certificate program that we offer that players can do, it's like 1 year, and then you really don't want to go and do that again. There's just not a lot of options right now. So I think that would be like something to solve if we wanted to see more of retention, but like, this is the way of the land. And like, at least they're graduating. So I look at this as like all successes. Anybody that's grad transferring, I'm stoked.
Yeah.
Femi, I'm not stoked. But everything else, like, really excited for everyone. This is the way of the land.
Yep.
For better or for worse, this is how it is. And do I hate the fact that I have to have anxiety about our best players potentially leaving after spending 1 year at our program? Absolutely. Hate it. That sucks. And especially from a brand building standpoint, I can't even imagine bringing somebody in. Like, imagine the Niners bringing in Christian McCaffrey, everybody buying McCaffrey jerseys, and then McCaffrey immediately being like, well, I'm going to the transfer portal, and now I'm going to go play for the Cowboys. That's realistic. That's completely unique to college football, right? It does not happen in professional sports. It doesn't happen anywhere else. I mean, not college football, but like collegiate sports. That is a unique experience. In no other sport do I bring you in and invest all of this into you and then say, okay, cool, but like the player opted to go play for your direct rival. I mean, maybe if you give like a player option, like maybe if you do the Carlos Rodon deal and you give it's like a player option and they like come in on a 1 year deal and it's like, okay, great. And then he goes signs with the Dodgers. Please don't let that happen. But like maybe I just feel like it's like the beautiful thing about college football is you believe in these people that are so young. I mean, I'm trying not to mention anyone by name, but like, these guys are so young. They come in early. You get excited in spring camp. They show out in the fall. Now you're excited, and now as a fan, you start to look towards what your future looks like. And you cannot do that with any level of certainty anymore.
No. Not for any middling team.
Not for any middling. Yeah, not for any middling team. And I mean, how many portal guys are in the portal from Alabama?
There's a bunch
We're
already.
seeing like a bunch of them in the portal, and it's crazy out there right now. So I don't know. I'm super happy for the guys that have graduated, and I will be incredibly pissed at any of the young losses for the program, because I think that you know, it'd be interesting. Your average career in the NFL is 3 years. 3 to 5 years? 3 years.
Yeah.
What looks better? Let's use Met Tower as an example. A Cal degree or an Oklahoma degree? What's going to set you up for a better, better long term in your career if you make it in the NFL for 3 years? It's going to be a Cal degree. And you're just, I don't know. College in some ways needed to be disrupted to more mimic the freedom that professional players, or at least the compensation that professional players had, because the injury risk was, if not equivalent, significant.
Yeah.
If not the same, it was at least significant.
Yeah.
And so I support the idea of players being able to get paid and paid appropriately for the risk that they take for essentially our entertainment.
Right.
And at the same time, I sort of openly am against this free agency without any level of commitment.
Yeah.
That you kind of go into this and you say, this is where I want to be. And like there's extenuating circumstances, but for the most part, just like on a whim, like what is it again? Dude, it's literally like we're repeating signing day a year later.
Pretty much,
every single year. It's like that indecision where we had the one guy who's like, I'm TCU, then I'm Cal. No, then I'm TCU again. No, I'm Cal. Then I'm TCU again. Like that level of indecision. Is it not better to have some level of decisiveness, to be locked in and say, okay, like, I also kind of hate the NCAA rule that forces guys to be in college for 2 years, the NBA rule that has, the 2-year rule. And then the flip side of it is I love it because we get to see players actually commit to playing at that, at that university. Sorry, it's the one and done, right? For basketball. But like
I think you're thinking more baseball.
Yeah, but we get to see that 1 year. Like we get to see them kind of commit to this. I don't know. I guess that's not a good example. But like
I think baseball.
I can't tell if I'm an old man just like yelling at clouds, or if if there is some fabric of the kind of mystique of college football that's actually being lost through this. And the cynic in me says the mystique is being lost. And then I try and rationalize it by saying like the majority of these moves are actually good for the players. And that's what's important. I just kind of find myself like with my little like two angels on each shoulder.
Yeah. You know what ultimately it becomes? And what it boils down to is college football has turned into the development league or minor league baseball for Major League Baseball. Like that's the analogy, right? There's no alternative way to do it, and there's no way to go around it. Like the NBA used to have the rule where if you're 18 and coming out of high school, you can go to the draft or you can go play collegiately. If you play collegiately, of course, you can leave whenever you want, but most of those guys are going to college because they want to go to college, right? And the guys that are talented enough to go to the NBA are gone to the NBA, right?
Yeah.
You get that segregation, and then you get like the commitment aspect. They're committing themselves to the sport, to do that. The guys that are coming into college, I think it's kind of half and half, right? You get guys that are trying to push their stock to maybe get drafted, or they're coming in here to get that college degree. You don't have that kind of segregation for football. Like there's no other route. It's NCAA football to the NFL or no NFL. There's no alternative route, right? There's no other way to get there. I think that's what kind of sucks, because that in turn becomes this thing of, if I'm trying to get to the league, I don't really care about the college experience. I'm more worried about where can I get the most exposure, the playing time, the wins, to get myself to that next level.
Yeah.
And that's like that's the sucky part about it.
You've had Wendy's nugs dipped in sauce, but have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new saucy nugs take the crispy and spicy nugs you love and turn them up to 11. Choose between flavors like buffalo or honey barbecue, garlic parm, or if you're a real heat seeker out there, you can try spicy ghost pepper, only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. Listen, I'm going to dare you to do it. I dare you. That's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs that you already love. Pick a flavor, grab some extra napkins, and then grab a few more napkins and prepare to nug like you've never nugged before. For a whole new way to nug, it's got to be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's.
I agree. I think I'm like hearing what you're saying and thinking that I am the old man yelling at the clouds.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm on that side. If I had to pick one or the other, I would pick the old version of it. Granted, I want some type of player freedom, but I totally get the whole, like, there doesn't seem to be this sense of, loyalty is the wrong word. I don't want to use the word loyalty because they don't need to be loyal to us, the fans. They don't owe us anything.
Dude, it's not loyalty.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's not.
I look at it as hardship. And I want players and people that are dealing with things that are not necessarily going to plan to have a willingness to fight through that rather than hit the eject button. And that's why it's situational, because that's not always the case. You shouldn't have to fight through every situation. But if you're coming in and you've committed yourself, let's stop calling it a commitment if it's not that.
Yeah.
Let's say, X player has temporarily decided to play Cal football. Right?
He's on a one-year deal. He has agreed to a 1-year financial aid deal with California.
Perfect. Stop calling it a commitment. It's not a commitment. 1 year is not a commitment. If I were interviewing you for a role and I asked you what was something that you committed yourself to and, really saw yourself come through the other side, and you gave me an example that was 1 year long, I would not move you on to the next round. Unless it was like a really hard year, right? Like there are extenuating circumstances here, but like it's 1 year. So like this isn't a commitment. This is just a decision. And the decision doesn't even hold weight anymore because you can get out of that decision 4 months after making it. Like you can show up on campus, go to a fall camp, and then enter the portal. I mean, the other example is like, I'm going to use McNamara as an example. The Michigan quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't know him. I don't follow Michigan that closely. So this is only from the, outsider Cal perspective that I have. He comes in as the presumptive starter. Then Harbaugh announces a co-quarterback situation. And then McCarthy beats him out for the role. And then he enters the portal. There's some time within that. He finished out his season, but like literally after the second to last, before the Big Ten championship, announced that he is in the portal, in the middle of the season. And it's like, dude, fight through it. Force yourself to be better. Fight through the uncomfortability of having lost that role. But now I just don't know like how willing we are to fight through tough shit anymore. Not that I'm great at it, but it is something that I like am trying to be acutely aware of so that when something comes up and it's not going my way, I don't look to just say, well, how do I get out of this?
Right? It's look, you want me to give you the prime example of that right now? Just look at the Cal men's basketball team. Honestly, Just look at those players. Look at all those guys that have stuck there for 4 years. Like, yeah, Matt Bradley left a little bit early. Andre left after graduating because he had the extra year. But you look at the rest of those guys, they're bit role players all throughout their careers, like now seniors, and they're still here. they're 0-9, and they're still here.
Damn.
Like that. If that's not commitment to not only this university, not only this fan base, not only the sport, not only their willingness to even continue to play collegiate basketball, like, I do not know what it is.
I think you just convinced me to go to a Cal basketball game.
I will say, I think as much as the team sucks, right? The players at least deserve a look or two. At the very least. Like, especially for like the seniors in this class, like, Kwani and Lars and all those guys, they've been here 4 freaking years and they haven't tasted victory at all. Like, the least we could do is like go to their senior day and commit and thank them for their 4 years here of just like, fighting through
seriously
all those 4 years of losses.
Seriously. Yeah.
They probably have like an 80%, like a flip win percentage, right? It's like an 80% loss percentage. Like their entire collegiate career you're gonna look at their record and be like, wow, I lost a lot more games than I won.
Those poor guys.
Yeah.
I love that.
They don't get like Wilcox's, even, we shit on the football team sometimes, but like they've been to 2 bowl games. They've tasted somewhat of postseason success. These guys in the last 6 years have not tasted an inkling of postseason success, nor have had the opportunity to even be in the postseason. So, yeah.
Don't get me started. Me started.
Yeah.
Our
but yeah,
golden,
that's
our golden little program.
Yeah. That's you and me both waving our fist in the air.
Yeah.
Just shaking our fist at the cloud. But that's enough about that. I know we're going a little bit over, but people do want us to talk about the offensive coordinator stuff. So here we go. All right. There has been no news. There has been, and we talked about this earlier, there has been absolutely zero news regarding the offensive coordinator in any sort of form or fashion. Like, zero. How does that make you feel, Andy? Where are you on this? Like, are you nervous? Are you antsy? Like, are you ambivalent? Have you given up? Like, are you just outside touching the grass? Like, where are you on this?
I think I'm duck on a pond. Calm, cool, collected.
On the outside,
and just scurrying away underneath. I put a lot of emphasis on the deadline of today, December 5th.
Yeah. Portal opening
today. I didn't want the uncertainty going into that, but I think that's largely a fan manifested thing. So trust the process. I trust Justin Wilcox immensely, if that hasn't been clear on this podcast. I don't normally trust the administration. So I think it's a matter of, I was trying to say, I actually have this weird thing called confidence right now with this process. That of the names that we have heard, the names that are on the big board that we're considering, I think represent what I would call a growth mindset for Justin Wilcox. The names that, so yes, we've heard absolutely nothing, but like
the names that we've put out there and like people are alluding to and so on. Yeah,
exactly. Of those, it represents a pretty substantial change in the way that Wilcox used to hire. Musgrave being the example of what he used to look for. Kind of, I would say, mentor-related leaders, somebody that has a
Experienced.
lot of experience.
Yep.
Right? Like Baldwin and Greatwood and Jerry Azanaro and like just like all these guys that kind of came in with this like lengthy career. And it seems like there's a lot more of a willingness to shift towards young and innovative. And I think that's the one thing. So you sort of haven't heard anything about like specific names, but you have heard like the rumors of the overarching trend of the search.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that I think that's very positive. But I'm always very positive. And we were 4-8 this season.
Yeah.
But I think that's what we would look for. And I just think that like people don't understand, like when you're as old. All right, so it's like, all right, mid-30s, right? It's pretty hard to change your mind on things. You kind of see the world the way that you do.
Yeah.
And you can probably change a few things here and there, but like pretty locked into who you are at this point. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
and then imagine being like almost 50 and seeing the world one way and then being open to seeing it completely differently. If anything, that is what I would continue to hope to have and am grateful to have in Justin Wilcox. And I just think like we've talked about it. He's somebody that understands football well. And so I think he can see the changing landscape because the core thought was air raid plus Wilcox defense does not work.
Yeah.
Right? That was 2017. Air raid plus Wilcox defense does not work. Need pro style offense. Like that is my robot version.
Yeah.
Must have pro style offense. Must have Wilcox defense.
Or more so ball controlling offense.
Perfect.
Is basically what he was looking for. Yeah, but yes, continue.
Must have ball control. Must have good defense.
Yeah.
But now, I think we've seen a shift in that mindset of there's a broad enough pool that we've put in our list that would suggest that there are old guard options, there are new guard options, there's sort of blends between those, there's outliers to all of that, and I think that's growth.
Yeah. I think the thing to add to that is, look, if we're going to go through, because you know just how he's hired in the past, and you look at who he's brought in and like guys that he's been connected to, right? The only real people that he can look at to like come in and run an offense, right? Probably Paul Christ, right? Derek Dooley, and probably Kisau are probably the three guys that you can off the top of your list be like, oh, he does have coaching chemistry with them because he's coached with them before. All three guys are offensive guys. But I think, honestly speaking, like Paul Christ is probably the only one that would revert back to what we've already been doing or have already been trying. Would I be ecstatic if he were to hire Dooley or Kisau? Probably not. But at the very least, the schematics and the philosophy of the offense would change pretty drastically. And so that's that. And then you look at the other side of that, you know, of the spectrum here, which you talked about, which is like young and up and coming, and you look at some of those names, like you look at the Brendan Marions, you look at the of the world, you look at the Junior Adams of the world, like, or the Jamarcus Shepherds. Those guys are young. Those guys are dynamic offenses at all three places, whether it be Oregon, Washington, or Texas. They're modern offenses. They utilize their skill position players really well. And also it gives the quarterback more things to do than just be a hand the ball off and a pocket passer. So it's clear that they're trying to modernize. Now, to how far they modernize is the bigger question, and how much risk you're willing to take in who you pick is still up for debate too, right? Like, or we just don't know. Like, are you going to go someone so young that doesn't have any offensive coordinator experience, but has been sitting in a prolific offense enough where you think he can carry it over, right? Are you willing to take that risk? Honestly speaking, I think Wilcox does. I think if you want to bring this fan base back, you have to bring a young guy who's hungry, who's maybe even slightly arrogant, in that, like, an offensive system that just wants to score on guys, and with no respect to their defense whatsoever. And then to be able to recruit at a super high level, and you take a swing for that. Because for us as fans, right, like for you and me, let's be real, we're not really tied to Wilcox in any degree. Like, if Wilcox gets fired at Cal, we're no longer Cal fans. Like, we're still Cal fans. And the reason I bring that up is because, like, let's play this out a little bit, right? Let's say he brings in that young, unexperienced recruiter type, or hungry young offensive coordinator. If it works out, what happens? Everyone's back on the boat. We have an exciting offense, and Wilcox swung the pendulum in the opposite direction in terms of his offensive coaching hires, and we're a good team now. That's a win for us. If it doesn't work out in 2 years, then everyone who wants Wilcox to be fired over the last, year and a half, 2 years, gets their wish. The offense doesn't work out. He made the wrong hire again. He's not going to get a fourth offensive coordinator hiring, and we're moving on to a new era of college Cal football. And there's somewhat of a, hope springs eternal moment in that too. The only thing that would suck for the next 2 years is if he goes back to hire like a Paul Chris type. And that's not a knock on Paul Chris. It's just we've seen that here and it hasn't worked. And we can't sit here wanting that again for another 2 years. That's how you lose the fan base.
Agreed. I think it takes... Wilcox wants to win. Wilcox wants to win. And that's what we want from our head coach, is not someone that wants to play it safe. So many people I see posting on Right for California say that Cal accepts mediocrity. Well, guess who doesn't accept mediocrity? Justin Wilcox. So, if he wanted to just be mediocre, then he could make a safe move and probably aim for 6-6 and probably know that he wouldn't get fired. But that's not the move that that we think that he's going to make. And I think that's exactly to your point. It's that to me is reassuring.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are names that we've already crossed off the list, right? Like there's moves have been made, and Dillingham's move from Oregon to Arizona as Arizona State's head coach, which is hilarious because he brings in Bo Baldwin and Charlie Riggle. It's like he saw Wilcox's thing of how he succeeded at his first couple of years at Cal as a new head coach. It's like, I'm just going to mimic that at least for the first couple of years, right? Like, recruit the hell out of Arizona and, have an experienced offensive coordinator to at least balance out some of the roster imbalances I might have in year one. So that's kind of, but yeah, so that's hilarious. And then all the guys that are entering the portal, like, there's an opportunity here. If you can bring in a guy who has some ties to maybe some guys in the transfer portal, considering our recruiting class for 2023 sits at 8 players, like, hey man, things can change in an instant. And the hype for spring ball would be through the roof once again. But I get why people are getting antsy and anxious, as Andy was saying. The the feet are waddling under the water just because it's been a year. Not a year. It feels like a year. It's been a week, and we still don't know really anything about the OC hire or even the offensive line hire, for that matter. And so we're just kind of sitting here waiting. I do think we should get it relatively soon, depending on when you're listening to this. And if the hire's already been made by the time you're listening to this, then this is just a stupid podcast you're listening to.
We will have another one.
We will have another one breaking down the hire that we made. But it is hilarious if you're listening to this after the announcement's made. Like, we're recording this Monday night. Like, imagine if Tuesday morning, before I even have a time to edit and post this,
That's what
the
will happen.
offensive coach gets hired.
That's what will
It's
happen.
like official. That's
In
100%
fact-
what's going to happen.
On that note, we are going to conclude.
That's the perfect way to conclude. It's the perfect way. Actually, before we conclude, we have 2 tweets at us, Andy. 2 tweets. And so I have to, we don't leave our listeners,
Ever.
hanging in the dust, right? So first one's from our dear friend Gerardo. Gerardo asks, any word so far on what the offensive coordinator list looks like? Kind of went through that. Are we looking to bring in a quarterback in this class? Transfer portal ? As usual, thank you guys for all your coverage. Go Bears. The QB thing is a very it's I don't know. It's not a sensitive topic, but it's just like I think everyone's in a holding pattern right now by the offensive coordinator. I think if Plummer connects with the new offensive coordinator, whoever they decide to hire, then he might stay, which probably means Kai's probably gone, which probably means we need to hit the portal, but in a different type of situation, right? We just need to bring in someone that might, push Plummer a little bit. Flip side is we bring in someone else and Plummer leaves, then it's like we're really looking for a quarterback.
Yeah, I really think that Plummer, I don't know. He could go pro if he gets some good grades.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to watch that. But I don't know.
There's a lot of quarterback talent in the portal right now.
There's so much talent in the portal right now.
Yeah.
And more coming.
Yeah. So it's definitely possible. Like, I will say this, like Wilcox told us, like at some, we always talk about this, but like the football 101 thing that me and Andy went to, like they usually like to keep 1 or 2 scholarships on hand in the off chance someone transfers out at the end of spring ball. I honestly think the same thing is going to happen here. We're going to transfer portal hard. There's going to be a lot of spots taken up by guys that we bring in from the transfer portal. After spring, we'll probably keep a few in hand because some guys are going to lose out jobs in the spring that allows us to bring them in the summer, like heading into the fall. And so it's not over. It's literally the beginning, like in terms of the remake of this entire team. But the caveat to that is no real starters have left except for Ben Coleman. So that kind of bodes well, right?
So far, we have had, I don't even want to say it.
Yeah.
Why
But
even put that jinx out there?
I'm just saying, as of Monday, I mean, this is the day that everyone wanted to get out in the portal, right? Like, if they wanted to leave, why not get a head start on like getting official visits and calls in from? Maybe you've already gotten calls in.
Yeah,
like who knows?
Like Femi, you already got your graphics done.
Yeah, no. So yeah, but yeah, thanks Gerardo for your question, and of course the last one, Andy, your favorite. It's from Sid. Andy's pointing up in the air right now. He's doing like a messy celebration. Obviously not the season we all hope for or wanted out of the players who have entered the portal so far. Who is the biggest loss in your opinion? Go Bears forever and see you next season. Biggest loss. I mean, Ben Coleman's the easy one to point out just because he's the starter on the offensive line. But probably one of the 3 running backs for me right now. Any one of the 3, honestly, it doesn't really matter. It really could be any of them. Just because we just lose so much depth in that room. Now I think we're down to 3 guys in that room.
Damian Moore was my favorite. So
I mean, he exploded onto the scene.
I just love the way he's like little MJD. But I gotta say, Jameson. Was incredible. Dude, we didn't even talk about his left-footed kick.
Wait. No, that's cheating, though. She asked who has entered out of the people that enter the portal. He's not in the portal. He's going on to greener pastures in the NFL.
Man, damn.
I will
His
not
left-footed
have
punts.
you. Yeah, I will not have you shaming Jameson Sheehan like that. He is not going to the portal. He is going to the NFL.
The left-footed punt was
The left-footed punt.
unbelievable.
That's an
announcer?
iconic moment.
Did he just punt that? His left foot? Yeah, so
I mean-
Damian Moore for me.
Yeah. I mean, just that left-footed punt, man. Like the amount of coordination you need to pull that off in the moment.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's a very underrated clip. I mean, that should have been number 1 on SportsCenter.
I mean, it's the same concept as like, let's say we're just doing like a PK shootout and just like practicing penalty kicks, and you shot with your right foot for the last 3 years, and then as you're walking up to kick the one in an actual game after all that practice, you decide in your head, you know what? I'm gonna switch my left foot.
In the middle of
The
running
walking
towards the
up.
ball.
Yeah, in the middle of the walk up. I'm just gonna mess up my timing and whatsoever, and which foot has to go forward and which foot has to plant and all of that. I'm just gonna kick with the opposite foot.
Just gonna
That'll
go
throw
for it.
him off.
Just gonna go for it.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. Oh, well, I think that's it. We'll
More
be back.
news to come.
So much more news to come. There is so much more news we didn't even cover yet, but that's it for the California Golden Bearcast. I'm Rob Huang. That's Andy Johnston. You can find all of our stuff on at Right for California or Golden Bearcast on Twitter. You can email us goldenbearcast@gmail.com. If you're listening to this, you found us. I don't need to tell you where to find us. And last, shout out. Congratulations to the Cal men's water polo team who came back 4 goals down.
Sick. So dope.
4 goals down to win the championship.
So dope. Love
So dope.
National
So
champs,
dope.
baby.
National champs once again, hosted in Berkeley too. I walked by Speaker. It was a sold out crowd on Saturday, despite pouring rain. Awesome. Congratulations to the team once again. And of course, as always, go Bears.
Go Bears. Welcome to the smooth sounds of the Golden Bearcast. I'm your host, Andy Johnston, alongside me.
I feel like I need to be playing some cool jazz.
We got Rob on the 1s and 2s. We're going to take you all for a nice stroll and reflect on some Cal football needs. All
A
right.
sharp right turn into Conversation Street.
What do we think about the tenor of the program right now?